What up, y'all? It's Carolina Representative Rhapsody, and you're watching All Urban Central. Keep it locked, hip-hop.
November 2009, after the Soul Train Awards in Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Combs flew Miss Richard and Miss Harper to his house in New York on his private jet for an after party. There were many well-known celebrities at the after party, and copious amounts of illegal drugs were being openly consumed. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs had arranged for dozens of young women and girls, some of whom appeared to be underage, to be transported to the party. The women arrived wearing little to no clothing and were given drugs and alcohol. Many of them appeared lethargic or passed out, while Mr. Combs and his guests performed sexual acts on them. Miss Richard believed that her presence at the party was a test to see whether Mr. Combs could trust her. This shit is crazy. Mr. Combs repeatedly said things like, quote, "This is a buffet. Enjoy yourselves. This is what we do. This is how we party." Not this is a buffet. The fuck? Miss Richard felt shocked and horrified at the sight of Mr. Combs and his guests violating incapacitated young women, and implored Mr. Combs' personal assistant, Capricorn Clark, to allow her to leave. Miss Clark insisted that Miss Richard wait 15 minutes for Miss Clark to make, in quotes, make it make sense. I need to make it make sense. Wait, hold on, because I don't want him to be upset because you're... that is to make Miss Richards' exit less conspicuous so that Mr. Combs would not notice that she left. Knowing that she was not free to leave and it had to wait for Miss Clark to help her orchestrate her departure, Miss Richard experienced feelings of panic and being trapped against her will. Mr. Combs regularly placed Miss Richard in similar situations with no means to escape. At Mr. Combs' drug-fueled parties, his guests, including Miss Richard, was required to surrender their phones upon entry. Mr. Combs kept the door locked and guarded by security personnel, making it impossible for Miss Richard to leave without alerting Mr. Combs that she had done so. Mr. Combs hired police officers to attend his parties, sending a clear message to guests that his influence extended to law enforcement officers, creating a climate of fear and a tactic warning that reporting him to authorities would be both unacceptable and futile. Miss Richard was never compensated for her extra time she spent fulfilling Mr. Combs' Ciroc Diddy campaign. Mr. Combs was paid approximately $250,000 per Ciroc appearance. Like, come on. You couldn't have paid per Ciroc. You got paid $250 per appearance, and you got them there at every one. Why not pay them something? $250 every one? Mr. Combs did not compensate Miss Richard or Miss Harper for these appearances, other than just $5,000 each on a handful of occasions. Mr. Combs' ongoing, so they got paid $5,000 on some of them, and I guess nothing on others. Mr. Combs' ongoing explanation for withholding compensation was that their appearance was a requirement for their tour. Additionally, Miss Richard was required to appear and to promote Diddy beats through parties, album songs, and videos. What's Diddy beats? I don't know what that is. Over time, Mr. Combs was paid $6.2 million for 25 Ciroc shows that Miss Richard was required to attend. Following each show, Miss Richard and Miss Harper approached Mr. Combs to inquire about their insufficient and sporadic payments. Mr. Combs routinely responded with a statement such as, "You aren't grateful." This is why I fucking quit. Because I will not allow these people to make me crazy. Because this is the shit that makes me want to explode. Ungrateful for wanting to be paid fairly. You got paid $6.25 million for 25 Ciroc shows. 25. But they're ungrateful. And
let me see if y'all know this one. Some things change, baby. some things stay the same. Sometimes love wins, sometimes it's a losing game. I try to do it the easy way, but you see how big my heart was. Had my share of hurricanes, the proof is in the blood, yeah.
I think more is to come. I mean, among other things, the indictment, which was unsealed this morning, the only person named is Sean Combs. Now, it says that he did all of these things in conjunction with other people, but it doesn't name them. It doesn't name the co-conspirators. It doesn't name the victims. It doesn't name witnesses. So there has to be more down the road, and it's going to be very interesting, Nicole, to see exactly who becomes a defendant, because I do expect other prosecutions, who becomes a witness or maybe gets out of being a defendant by being a cooperating witness, and who comes forward as a witness cooperating. It was mentioned that Cassie's lawyer was in court this morning, and I think the supposition is that she's cooperating with this investigation. We have an indictment that says a lot of things that were in her complaint last year.
How massive potentially is this investigation and then the resulting case?
Let me point you to the first two words in the indictment. For decades. The allegation by the prosecutors in the Southern District is that this criminal conduct involving racketeering, involving sex trafficking, involving interstate prostitution, involving arson and kidnapping and other violence has been going on in Sean Combs's ambit in his criminal enterprise for decades. So that's a lengthy period of time. A lot of people, a lot of geographic ground. This is a big investigation and a really big case.
Absolutely. Do you think, Richard, that he will, in fact, remain in custody, or do you think he will be granted bond?
That's a great question. I think there's a pretty good chance he's going to stay in custody. That is certainly what the government is seeking, and they're basing that both on the severity of the allegations against him, the fact that the grand jury came out with the indictment, and on the fact that he's a flight risk. I mean, he has significant resources. He could disappear. Now, he's going to argue two things. One, he's going to argue that he's cooperated. He cooperated with the investigation. He came to New York to be indicted. He is defending himself, but cooperating. And I think he might also argue that he's essentially too famous to hide, that he couldn't go anywhere in the world and not be found, so that running away would be futile. He may argue that. I think it's a really close call, but a good chance he stays in jail for now.
So let's talk about that, because his attorney mentioned that, we heard that sound there during Caitlin's report, the attorney saying, hey, he relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. Does that type of cooperation make a difference?
It can make a difference. I mean, I don't know if it was a big deal that he flew to New York to get indicted rather than, trying to avoid it. He wasn't going to be able to successfully avoid getting indicted. So I think he might get some points for that, but not that many.
What kind of impact, Richard, will that settlement with Cassie Ventura, Sean Diddy Combs' former romantic partner, the person we saw in that hotel video, which we then saw him issue that apology on social media. What kind of impact will that settlement potentially have on this investigation and case?
Well, I don't know that the settlement should have any impact, because you should never read anything into the fact that somebody settled a lawsuit. That just means they didn't feel good. They could have a lot of different reasons for settling the lawsuit. The amazing thing to me was that lawsuit was brought and settled the next day. And I said at the time, I don't understand, and I still don't understand how Sean Combs's team let that thing get filed if they were only going to settle it the next day. The whole point of settling a lawsuit like that is to prevent it from getting settled. They surely had some discussions prior to being filed, and now we see what's happened because it was filed. I think 8 other lawsuits and now a criminal indictment. Disastrous for Diddy.
All right, my last question for you. We know that this is a massive investigation, as you pointed out. The U.S. Attorney there saying 4 decades of investigation. Should any of Sean Combs's associates be concerned right now?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you're an associate, right, the indictment alleges that his associates helped him commit these heinous crimes, participated in these freakoffs, helped him conceal them. There's allegations about witness intimidation. There's allegations about his associates carrying weapons and intimidating people. Again, I go back to what I said. If you're one of those associates, you got to think about, are you going to be a defendant? Are you better off being a cooperating witness? I wouldn't be surprised if some of those discussions are going on right now.
We will certainly see what happens as this continues to play out. Trial attorney Richard Schoenstein, thank you.
My pleasure.
Is Run the Bally with another? The last Freakoff tape that just got sold on the dark net, which I know because I monitor, went for $500 million. It had multiple stars in it. Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, Drake. It was a really interesting night in Calabasas, and he just sold that footage.
How come you think it doesn't get leaked to the public?
The dark net?
Yeah, like...
Because of the dark coin. Most people don't even know that the dark coin exists.
Finally alone. Because P. Diddy be wanting the body. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did.
But man, you ain't never really party, you know what I'm saying? I like when you like this, Daddy. Daddy, I like when you scrambling and scraping for shit. No, make a wish. Just blow it out. It's your birthday every day.
Where I look back on where I became.
Did you miss me though? For real? Because I'm saying it seems like a thing.
I miss
this
partying
birthday
with
party,
Puff, man.
But I'm talking about for your birthday.
Huh?
Why won't you party with me for your birthday, man?
We partied for my birthday before. You came to my party.
No, but man, you ain't never really party. You know what I'm saying? Body, my baby bro, we here. Tomorrow is time. It's time. What you gonna do to that thing, man? Yeah, they better tune in. They better tune in. Let's go. Everybody, my baby bro, we here. Tomorrow is time. It's time. What you gonna do to that thing, man? Yeah, they better tune in. They better tune in. Let's go.
The Diddy, the parties, not got invited to those. He was in Cali going to a couple parties with Meek, right? And Meek told my inside man that he can't go to, what 2 or 3 parties, yeah. So he got left like at the crib or Airbnb, hotel, mansion, wherever they was. Like he couldn't go. Wow. Like yo, you can go like Monday and Tuesday you can go to this party, but Wednesday and Thursday when we go to this other mansion party, you got to stay back. That's just coming from my inside guy. Like this is truth. Like, you know what I mean? That party, like when they say Diddy party, yeah, a few people was around at that time and they couldn't go.
Hey, what's up, King Son? Man, you doing it, man. You deserve it, Daddy. You putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you. Yeah.
Perhaps Diddy and Meek Mill has.
Why would they not have sex when they're gay rappers?
Do you think Meek Mill's gay?
We all know he's gay.
Who's we?
Rick Ross knows he's gay.
I didn't know. It's news to me.
Everybody, Rick Ross knows.
You think Rick Ross would sign a gay rapper?
Rick Ross knows he's gay, is what I said. Everybody know he paid me $2,000 to say that, right?
Me?
You only paid me $2,000.
To say Rick Ross is gay? No. No, to say Meek Mill is.
Okay, well, yeah, Meek Mills is gay.
I've never told you to say that anyone is gay.
Right,
For the record.
So Meek Mills is gay.
No, he seemed very unhappy with that characterization.
Fuck that shit, nigga. Fuck that.
All the champagne was spiked, son. Like, all the champagne was spiked. Everybody was passed the fuck out. I don't drink, so I was playing that shit off like I don't fucking drink. I smoke, nigga. Like, I smoke and I had my own weed, but like everybody was passed out. Yo, Diddy had that man in the room. Look, yes, I put my ear to the fucking door and I brought the phone because Diddy started going in overdrive. I ain't know what the fuck was going on, but I just heard balls slapping against ass cheeks. I heard niggas struggling to take dick. I heard niggas being like, yeah, daddy. Like, when he started all that daddy this and daddy that, and then I heard some hollering and struggling like, yeah, I kept the phone there and I recorded all that shit because I was like, this nigga Diddy rich. So I'm finna put the squeeze on and give me a couple dollars and just saying, you know what I'm saying? There's nobody believed that was really Diddy beating Meek back in. But now y'all motherfuckers believe the video, right? Right? Somebody throw me a couple dollars.
I'm with Diddy on another level. Yeah, bitch, man, get your shovel. I got the Richie that sit on my lap, and sometimes I ought to be pulling the blade. That's on earth, ever since I got that rocket shit, they took a trip out of space. Ever since birth, come on my tongue, they had but they really hate. I know my work, so we can play the purpose and keep it on my little day. Medicine church, when it's a cherry, down to the stone, and I'm space. I ain't got a rub, it's just not a race. Go! Love than Drake. Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so yeah, that's what's up. Yeah. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Fresh. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
This is a special birthday for both of us.
Yeah.
Because today, not today, yesterday, the whole year is love. It's first birthday. I started a new chapter in my life, and you did too. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
You ain't had a drink in a year. You know what I'm saying? You look phenomenal. And this is called the Ciroc Water Cheers. So, I drink Ciroc. You don't drink. How do we cheers? With your water and my white grape Ciroc. It's called Two Kings Clinks. It's called Two Clinks.
And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp?
Yeah, that's what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans. Jodeci, Mary J. Blige, they didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time, you know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem. I had like,
what
like a living.
Life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
See?
That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and I mean, damn, pause, but like, check this out. I mean, back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes because he used to always get up early with me. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world. And
What the fuck did Puff just say? Nobody's going to acknowledge this but me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes, and we're streaming live. That was stupid. Listen, that was fucking stupid. Listen,
we having a good time, yo. Your usher made it in the... Hey, yo.
Let's just put the camera a little this way just so we're not... I don't want my shot to even... Like, I don't want it to come close to the bed at all. Usher look like he fresh off a goddamn plane.
Just that, you know, Diddy told him personally that he had sex with Usher. And when you look at the lawsuit, even though they got Usher's name redacted, you could tell who it is because they described him as the guy that performed at the Super Bowl. Right. So, I mean, we all know who that is, but how you feel about that, man?
Well, I mentioned that earlier, that he said about Stevie J. The Usher part, that's a touchy situation, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a certain feeling and I felt a certain way when Usher got on Shay Shay. And I don't mean to mention other people's platforms, but he got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything. You know what I'm saying? About the business. Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass?
Usher, I'm tired of Usher.
Oh.
Goofy bitch.
No.
Got your asshole ripped open and the only thing it inspired was loyalty. They ripped your ass open. Gene didn't say it. He said, check the records at the hospital. I'm saying it. You got your ripped open. Then you take Justin Bieber from Lily White, Canada, and take him to the flavor of Freakoff, the kiddie edition. Get his ripped open. Now everything's coming out. And the first thing you do is run the Bali with another kiddie rapper who works with the man, L.A. Reid, that sent you to the Diddy flavor Freakoff.
Not the flavor Freakoff.
Now you got Justin Bieber breaking up relationships and shit. Suck Odell Beckham dick at the club, and the next thing you know, he don't even want Kim no more.
I think I'm going for more of the bun than the ponytail. So if you could redo it and pull this something like that. I'm getting a little bit too tired last time, so
the new Tevin Campbell.
Yeah, they show him crying. You're almost giving him a gateway to speak his truth of what happened.
I wish Tevin Campbell would speak to him or for him. Because the same thing that they did to him, they're doing to Bieber right now. And I have evidence. That poor kid. And all because he got discovered by Usher. And then Usher took him right over there to the diddler. And let the good times roll.
Let the good times roll.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'll tell you my number.
Yeah.
55.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come in LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. As soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come in LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. So every time you come in LA, it's a little dusty, but you know, let me get the first shot of this.
Man.
Minute.
Woo. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna be driving this next year.
Yeah, when you get 16, you come down, you gotta, you know, wear your seat.
I mean, I'm 15. You can ride in the passenger seat. I got my permit. Not yet.
No.
All right, 16.
You're not ready.
16.
Let's slow down. Let's slow down, Judge.
Okay.
Let's slow down. Okay.
One step at a time.
But yeah, the keys is yours when you get 16. You good to go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
And then when you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay. I get the mansion.
Yeah.
So where are we off to now?
Where would you like to go?
I mean, wherever you want to go. Where are we going?
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
We're going crazy.
Listen, he's in.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Ellen, were you surprised by the allegations about P. Diddy? Did that surprise you about P. Diddy? He's been on your show many times. Have a good night. Have you been to his parties?
Yeah, no, it's great. So tell me about your birthday party. Am I invited?
Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seen the show up.
No, well, is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ellen. Happy birthday to you. You didn't invite me to the party, so I'm just here in my office having shots in honor of one of the most beautiful women in the world.
It didn't take long for Ellen DeGeneres, often dubbed as the Queen of Mean, to get tangled up in the Diddy scandal. Paparazzi recently caught up with Ellen to ask her thoughts about her longtime friend Diddy facing serious allegations. Ellen seemed visibly uneasy when reporters brought up those infamous Diddy parties from over the years. Diddy, who was a frequent guest on The Ellen Show, is now under scrutiny due to allegations surrounding his parties. Fans are revisiting older interviews where Diddy openly talks about his notorious gatherings. In some of these interviews, Diddy jokingly questions Ellen about why she always turns down invites to his parties. But here's the twist. Rumors are swirling that Ellen might have actually attended some of Diddy's parties. However, Ellen wasn't seen at those flashy, star-studded events we usually link with Diddy. Instead, sources hint that Ellen might have been to other quieter gatherings at Diddy's place, where some troubling and maybe even illegal things supposedly happened. Meanwhile, unsettling videos recently popped up on social media, showing Ellen making Justin Bieber feel uneasy and asking him inappropriate questions. With rumors swirling that Justin might have been a victim of misconduct by Diddy and other men in the industry, fans are now wondering if Ellen had any knowledge of what happened to Justin.
Just a girl that you were in Bora Bora with?
Yeah.
You just brought a friend to Bora Bora?
Yeah.
And you're just naked with your friend?
Why are you putting me on the spot like this? Gosh.
I mean, you can say, why can't you say you're dating somebody?
I'm not dating anyone, though.
She's just a friend?
She's just a friend.
Wow. I have friends, I've never seen them naked like that. And they don't bring me to Bora Bora.
Stop, you're making me blush, dude.
Let's delve into the real truth behind Ellen and Diddy's friendship. Did Ellen actually attend those rumored FO parties? And is there a possibility that she could be implicated in the ongoing federal investigation into Diddy? Let's break it down.
Now, what time would your party start, let's say?
Like 9:30.
Really? That early?
Yeah.
I could make that.
Yeah.
But I could think of you of starting a party at like midnight. Like, what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party, though.
Uh-huh.
Let's start by addressing why some people believe Ellen DeGeneres and Diddy share more similarities than one might think. It's important to clarify that Ellen hasn't faced any serious criminal allegations like Diddy. However, she does have a reputation for being one of the toughest personalities in Hollywood. Some of the rumors surrounding Ellen are quite unsettling. Both Diddy and Ellen have projected public personas that are quite different from their true selves. But now, it appears that the facade they've been maintaining is beginning to show cracks, giving us a peek into their true characters. In the 80s, Ellen's start in stand-up comedy saw her performing at small venues and coffee houses in New Orleans, where attention was quickly garnered, and touring across the country commenced. A significant break on TV was achieved with a short-lived sitcom called Open House in 1992, which, although short-lived, impressed producers who subsequently cast her in their next project, These Friends of Mine, later known as Ellen. However, it was in April 1997 when waves were truly made as Ellen came out on a big lady show. In the iconic The Puppy episode, her sitcom character followed suit, marking a landmark moment in TV history for its portrayal of LGBTQ+ issues. After the sitcom's conclusion, a return to stand-up was made before a comeback was achieved with a new sitcom, The Ellen Show, in 2001, followed by the massively popular daytime talk show, The Ellen DeGeneres Show. However, things took a different turn for Ellen. Despite her reputation as a friendly and fun talk show host who loves to dance and give away prizes, cracks began to appear in her persona. In 2007, a former writer from her sitcom spoke out about how she treated the staff poorly, criticizing their work behind closed doors. Despite putting on a charming front during rehearsals, similar stories continued to circulate over the years. Ellen managed to quiet most of the talk until 2016, when Kathy Griffin revealed in her memoir an encounter with a certain beloved daytime talk show host with short blonde hair. Griffin later confirmed she was referring to Ellen, revealing a side of her that wasn't as warm and fuzzy as many had believed.
Well, Ellen heard about that interview and she did not like what she heard.
She was furious.
What did she say? What did she say?
She just really was on a rant. Because I had mentioned on your show that, I wish that women would support each other more, in particular super, super influential women. There's so few female comics over 50 that are making a living or doing okay. Like, we need to support each other. I expressed that to her and she was like, I don't have to have anybody on my show I don't like. I don't want. I said, I know. And she kept saying, I don't hate you. And I said, I don't think you hate me.
A couple of years later, more stars began to speak out about Ellen's unsavory character, and clips of her being rude and making celebrities uncomfortable started to circulate on social media. Let's go back to that cringeworthy interview Ellen had with Mariah Carey in 2008. It's a prime example of how Ellen would go to great lengths to generate publicity for her show. Rumors were swirling at the time about Mariah possibly being pregnant, but the singer hadn't confirmed anything yet. Despite Mariah looking visibly uncomfortable discussing the topic, Ellen kept pressuring her to answer. She even attempted to get Mariah to drink champagne on air to prove she wasn't pregnant.
That people are saying that you're pregnant. There's rumors.
Don't discuss that.
All right. Well, you don't have to.
No, that's okay. No, honestly,
you don't have to answer. Let's just toast with champagne and decide.
But they've been saying that since we. I can have some champagne. It's just fattening. So,
you can't have champagne.
That's not champagne because you can't.
No, it is.
Is it really?
Yeah. You want to taste it?
I can't believe you did this to me, Ellen.
What? No.
Are you trying?
I'm not going to ask you if you're pregnant.
This is peer pressure. Do you see what Ellen is doing? This is peer pressure.
No. Let's toast to you not being pregnant. If you're not pregnant.
In 2020, Mariah talked about that famous moment in her interview with Vulture. She said she felt really uncomfortable and had a tough time dealing with what happened afterward. I wasn't ready to tell anyone because I had had a miscarriage, Mariah said, also adding that she expected Ellen to have more empathy. I wasn't ready to tell anyone because I had had a miscarriage, Mariah said, also adding that she expected Ellen to have more empathy. And then there's Wendy Williams, who had a big fight with both Diddy and Ellen, Some insiders say Diddy got Wendy fired from her radio show in the 90s because she suggested on air that he might be hiding something. Ellen also didn't seem to like Wendy much. When Wendy was a guest on Ellen's show, Ellen acted passive-aggressive and didn't seem interested. She barely showed any excitement when they talked about Wendy's show getting renewed.
All right, let's talk about the show. You got renewed for 3 more years. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I mean, you're an OG in this game. You know what it is.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, as we know, talk shows come and go. To be able to stay on the air, it's a big deal.
Yeah, well, in 2020, we will be 11 years old.
Yeah.
And there's no rhyme or reason to say that a show is going to last just because you get 1 season. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ellen's reaction when Wendy later made a joke about Ellen looking like Justin Bieber. It showed Ellen's classic behavior of being someone who likes to make fun of others but can't take it when the joke's on her.
And some people say that he looks like you. I've heard that. You've never heard that? They say it in a good way. Okay.
What's
fine.
the song? What's the song?
Baby. Oh, I forgot the name of the new one.
That's not new.
No. What's his new song called? I forget. I know all the words.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
Do I look like Justin Bieber?
No, they have made the equation.
Oh, well.
That's in a good way.
I don't mind that.
He's cute.
He's adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I know.
Let's not forget about Dakota Johnson and the famous moment when she turned things around on Ellen. You know how Ellen sometimes tells made-up stories just to be funny, and most stars just go along with it? Well, Dakota isn't like most stars. When she went on The Ellen Show in December 2019 and talked about her 30th birthday party, Ellen teased her about not getting an invite. But Dakota didn't play along. She basically told Ellen that she was lying about not being invited.
How was the party? I wasn't invited.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited. Last time I was on the show, last year, you gave me a bunch of about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited.
Well, who doesn't want to be invited to a party?
Well, I didn't even know you liked me.
Of course I like you. You knew I liked you. You've been on the show many times, and don't I show like?
Yeah. But I did invite you and you didn't come. So
Ellen was uncomfortable, feeling the pressure and trying hard to change the subject. But Dakota wasn't going to let her off easily. She showed evidence that everyone on the Ellen Show team knew about the invite. To make things worse, Dakota made it clear that she prefers another comedian over Ellen anyway.
So
this time you invited me?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How do you know? I don't think so.
Ask everybody. Ask Jonathan, your producer. Who said you were?
I was invited?
Right.
Why didn't I go?
I don't know.
Was it? Oh yeah, I had that thing. It was probably in Malibu. That's too far for me to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. No, I think I do remember I was invited. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, but I really didn't remember that until just now. But Tig Notaro performed at your party?
She did.
She did a set?
She did. It was a surprise.
What did she do?
A bunch of funny stuff.
She's hilarious.
She's my favorite comedian. Other than you.
That's a classic example of how narcissists react when you confront them. Just to give you a quick comparison. Diddy had a moment on the Jimmy Kimmel Show that felt similar to what happened between Dakota and Ellen. It seemed like we were watching a repeat of The Mask slipping away in both situations. Just a few weeks before Cassie dropped her lawsuit bombshell last November, Diddy was on Jimmy Kimmel Live. When Jimmy mentioned Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Deal and the wild allegations he made, you could see the mask slipping from Diddy's face.
Hey, speaking of
This is love.
I saw a guy on the internet the other day who said he used to be your security guard, who said that when you were dating J-Lo, Will Smith and Jada tried to pick her up on a threesome and you were going to beat up Will Smith. Is that true?
Yo, this show has gotten crazier since the last time I ever peeped. No,
It's all about love, though. That's not true.
You really heard that? Nah.
What? Yeah, I watched it on the internet. You're telling me I can't believe everything I read?
What? I don't know what you're talking about. Jimmy, I thought we was friends. Where did this interview just go?
In this interview, it's clear why Diddy and Ellen got along so well. Now let's talk about how they treat the people who work for them, because both have faced some ugly allegations about mistreating their staff. In Diddy's case, we've heard about recent allegations and disturbing lawsuits from the people who used to be in his circle. But these allegations didn't just start with Cassie. Back in 2017, Diddy was sued by his former chef, Cindy Rueda. She accused him of SA and retaliation. Rueda said she started working for Diddy in 2015 and regularly worked from 9 in the morning to midnight or later without being paid overtime. But the worst part, according to Rueda, was that Diddy regularly asked her to serve him and his friends food. Right after SA, Rueda claims Diddy made her serve him meals while he was naked, and he even asked her if she liked his body. The lawsuit also said that once one of Diddy's friends walked into the kitchen with no clothes on and asked her to look at and admire his private parts. Rueda said she complained about her working conditions to Diddy's estate director, Stacey Friend, but instead of listening, they set her up to be accused of theft and fired her. Basically, Diddy set up Rueda by having another employee offer her a watch they said was found in the trash. In the days after, Rueda was accused of theft and told she wouldn't be prosecuted if she gave back the watch and signed a paper saying she wouldn't sue Diddy. Now, let's chat about Ellen for a bit. You might have heard about all the talk about her mistreating her employees. Well, it's not just gossip. There's a long list of complaints. Actually, her awful behavior is the reason her talk show was eventually canceled. And apparently, Ellen mistreated her staff both at home and at work. According to Ellen's former housekeeper, who talked to the Daily Mail, Ellen ran her household like a boot camp, giving orders like in the military, bothering employees over small mistakes, and even finding joy in firing people. Ellen also had this habit where she would regularly write down passive-aggressive lists about all the small things she thought her employees were messing up. It could be things like serving food in the wrong bowl, misplacing the salt shaker, or not frothing her latte perfectly. But wait, it gets even stranger. One former staffer spilled the beans, saying Ellen was so ridiculously meticulous that she'd set up what they called traps before leaving for work. She'd sneakily place matches behind cupboard doors to see if the cleaners were dusting every nook and cranny of her mansion. And it didn't stop there. Handymen, security guards, you name it, they all dreaded going to Ellen's place because they knew she would criticize their work to bits. It got so bad that one of the top security firms in Hollywood actually ended their association with her. Want to know why? Apparently, Ellen couldn't stand the way their security guards walked. She also allegedly used a condescending tone when speaking to workers and would sometimes even yell at them. "She treated you like you were nothing," one former employee said. They added that Ellen's attitude was always, "I'm going to torture you, and you're just going to sit there and listen to it because you're being paid." And here's something unbelievable. Even Ellen's dogs couldn't stand her. A former staff member revealed that while the dogs adored Ellen's wife, Portia, and would get all excited when she came home, they barely acknowledged Ellen's arrival. The employee went as far as calling Ellen the worst person he's ever met and believes she took pleasure in firing people. And then, of course, there's what happened to The Ellen Show and how Ellen tarnished her own reputation by mistreating her staff. In July 2020, BuzzFeed News published a report by 10 anonymous former employees confirming that The Ellen Show had always been a toxic workplace. The report revealed that staff members were fired for reasons as trivial as taking medical leave or attending family funerals. One former employee mentioned that Ellen didn't just ignore the mistreatment and racism among staff members, but actually encouraged it. Former Ellen Show DJ and actor Tony also spoke up about the claims, writing on Instagram that he definitely experienced the toxicity of the environment. What's surprising is that almost all of Ellen's celebrity friends stayed completely silent on these allegations. And now we're seeing the same thing happening with Diddy. All those celebrities who were showing.
Just a year ago today, Diddy was issued a key to New York City. Now, fast forward that year, he's now been indicted in the very city that once showed him love. As prosecutors say, he now faces years and decades behind bars, giving a whole new meaning to bad boy for life. Diddy, whose real name is Sean Combs, was arrested yesterday at a swanky NYC hotel. But before a judge today, he pleaded not guilty to 3 federal charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, coercion, transportation to engage in prostitution. He will be held without bail. Now, the energy around the courthouse today wasn't as heightened as maybe expected. Here, there were a few fans out here today, some in their cars yelling "Free Diddy," some understanding what the victims are feeling in this case and saying this criminal case was a long time coming. Some just surprised he wasn't even issued bail at all. I actually spoke with a girl visiting from Germany with her mother, and she was surprised Diddy appeared inside the courthouse that you see right behind me. Let's hear what she had to say. What are your thoughts on seeing just this massive amount of people outside of this courthouse while you're here just for vacation?
I was surprised. I was like, what's happening? And then you approached me, and I knew it was about Diddy. And I knew from like German journals and television that this is happening, but it's surprising to see it like live. And and I think it's good that like sexual harassment and this is getting a lot of attention, because most of the time, even with like famous men, it's held down and nobody speaks about it. And I don't know if he maybe gets a career afterwards. I don't hope. But yeah, we will see. Now, through an attorney, the defense is reportedly confident in this case, as Sean Combs' attorney, Mark Agnifilio, said he'll fight like hell for his client.
So this was the first step. We have a bail appeal scheduled for tomorrow at 3:30 in front of Judge Carter, the district judge assigned to this case. I think that we made the points that we've been wanting to make. I think he came out. Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent. He came to New York to establish his innocence. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government said in their presentation today that changes anyone's mind about anything. He's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name. And we're going to stand by his side as he does. We believe in him wholeheartedly. He didn't do these things. This was a 10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime. There's basically just, someone who brought a civil case and now is finding themselves as a witness in a criminal case. And we're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he. And eventually he's going to be shown to be innocent. And so tomorrow we fight again. And we'll fight every day until we don't have to fight anymore.
So here's what happened this afternoon. Diddy appeared in this federal courthouse that you see again right behind me. Now, according to sources inside that building, he appeared stone-faced and uncuffed while at the defense table. His arraignment began around 2:30 Eastern today, with some supporters on his side, including his 3 adult sons, that's Justin, Quincy, and Christian. Prosecutors say Diddy is dangerous and used his power, authority, and intimidation to essentially get away with his crimes. Under the indictment, it says, the defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. Now, during court today, it's been reported the government wants him to be detained ahead of trial. The government argued Diddy set up freakoffs, forcing sex and masturbating during it. He also filmed some of those encounters. He stocked the room with narcotics so that female victims could continue for multiple days. Prosecutors say the defendant committed other physical assaults, kidnapping, and arson. He surrounded himself with and used firearms, including the 3 defaced AR-15s that were seized, 1 in LA, 2 in Miami, in his bedroom closet. Now, while the victim hasn't been named, you can't help but think it's Cassandra Ventura, better known as Cassie, as many of the claims in the indictment echo her November 2023 lawsuit. One argument made by prosecutors was the victim sought to leave a freak-off and he assaulted her. When hotel security was helping the victim leave the hotel, the defendant attempted to bribe the officer with a handful of cash. The guard refused to be bought. The defendant tried to get the video. Now, this echoes the video that was released by CNN just months ago, where Diddy is seen brutally assaulting his then-girlfriend Cassie at an LA hotel around March of 2016. Now, the prosecution argued the video disappeared from the hotel's server. It's not a coincidence, prosecutors say. The cover-up continued for another 7 years. There was a civil suit, again, that alluding to Cassie's lawsuit in mid-November of 2023 that detailed this assault at the Intercontinental Hotel. The defendant denied it, calling it lies. This is what prosecutors are saying inside the courtroom today. Now, according to prosecutors, witnesses they interviewed have universally expressed fear. The defendant has contacted witnesses who received grand jury subpoenas. He contacted at least one victim as well. Now, while Diddy's attorney argue he's not a flight risk, prosecutors actually say the opposite. Now, they argued the defendant is a wealthy man. It allows him to flee quickly and without detection. His counsel has taken steps to minimize flight risks to set up the argument made today. But then his incentives were entirely different, and he flew to New York actually 2 weeks ago. Now, it was reported that about 2 weeks ago, Diddy was actually up in Harlem. It's unclear what he was doing there, but there were reports that he did make that visit around 2 weeks ago. And another shocking development, prosecutors say Diddy had what appeared to be narcotics found in his hotel room just last night. Now, pink powder that previously tested positive for ecstasy and other drugs, and prosecutors say this is a Heartland detention case. Now, the defense asked the judge for Diddy to be given a bail package, which would include posting a $50 million bail using the equity of his home. But prosecutors say the bail package is woefully inadequate. It only focuses on him being a flight risk. Now, federal prosecutors say that they have spoken to over 50 witnesses. They have sworn out warrants for cloud accounts. The search has yielded 90 cell phones and 30 other devices, including a surveillance system, and the Freakoffs were corroborated. Now, meanwhile, the defense said they could tell the indictment was coming in the fall of last year. After federal agents raided Diddy's Miami and LA home in March, defense counsel took Diddy's passports, and anytime he traveled, they actually told prosecutors. That's what the defense says. Now, if you remember from our previous coverage here at Law and Crime, we had reported that Diddy was out kind of gallivanting over this summer, essentially. He was seen in South Florida riding his bike, going to the beach, hanging out with friends. He was seen in LA. He was seen white water rafting in Wyoming. Now, the defense says that prosecutors knew anytime that Diddy was traveling domestically, because essentially they wanted to build that trust with prosecutors to ensure that he wouldn't be a flight risk. But the defense argued the raids were frightening. Again, those raids happening in March of just this year. Now, Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, said that the March 25th raid that happened this year were frightening. He says that lasers were pointed at his children. They were marched out in front of the house with news reporters and helicopters, handcuffed for 2 hours. And again, the children that they're discussing right now is Justin and Christian Combs, who are there and present at Diddy's LA home. And they were completely innocent throughout this all. No criminal charges or anything has come about from that case. And they didn't want the raids or anything like that to happen again. At the time of the raids, his attorneys, his being Diddy's, issued a statement in part saying that the raids against both of his homes, again in LA and Miami, were essentially an overzealous use of military level force. The defense went on to say Mr. Combs flew to New York to say, "You want me? I know you want me. Here he is." While worried that he did have an airplane, the defense says that they do have to sell it. There is a financial management company that deals with these types of issues, so they're trying to, again, sell Diddy's private jet to, again, assure that he's not a flight risk. Now, when it comes to the charges, Diddy's attorney argued there's one victim in count 2, the sex trafficking charge. Mr. Combs wrote a very large check to someone he was in a relationship with for 10 years. And then the defense argued that people got in line for checks. He had no idea. 12 victims. Again, this is all alluding to the sexual misconduct lawsuits that Diddy still faces. And the defense says, "I didn't know. I'm happy there's only one." He went on to argue that the case is manageable. Pretrial services says that he has a criminal record, but he was acquitted. He's ready to do that again. So what is Mr. Combs doing in New York City? He, being the defense attorney, says he's here for treatment and therapy. But again, prosecutors say just yesterday, narcotics were allegedly found in his hotel room. Back to the victim in this case, Diddy's attorney argued Mr. Combs is not a perfect person. They say the toxic relationship between the two, again, it's victim 1, but alluding to kind of the lawsuit that happened in November of 2023, you can't help but believe that victim 1 is Cassandra Ventura, better known as Cassie. Now, they say these toxic relationships were mutual. Now he's saying that Diddy is essentially trying to be better for the rest of his days. If there's one thing we've seen, we should stand with people who are trying to get the help that they need. Now, Agnifilo argued that the hotel footage found its way out. He says he wondered how that even happened. The defense didn't have it. The government had it. It got out on the day Donald Trump didn't have any court proceedings. Mr. Combs saw it and issued an apology, and he wanted to do that. Now, let's play that apology video for you real quick.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. But sometimes you got to do that. I was f***ed up. I mean, I hit rock bottom. But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, and go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
Now, Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, argued two people were in that hotel room that day, an issue that Mr. Combs had more than one girlfriend was essentially at the center of the argument that he alleges. Victim one was looking through his phone and saw that, then hit him in the head with a cell phone and took his clothing, so he came out of the hotel room in a towel. And again, while Cassandra Ventura, aka Cassie, wasn't named in the indictment or mentioned in court by name today, you can't help but again wonder, because again, this mirrors the March 2016 brutal assault video that was released on CNN just months ago, as well as mentions some of the allegations that were also in her federal lawsuit against Diddy that again was settled within 1 day of it being filed in federal court. Now, Agnifilo reportedly argued they were in love, but the victim ended up marrying the trainer that Diddy got for her. Agnifilo claims that the two, Diddy and victim one, were cheating on each other, but the defense says that she has 2 kids now with the trainer. Now, according to the defense, victim one called Diddy's lawyer and said that she wanted to write a book. But if you want to buy the rights, you'll have the rights for $30 million. Now, that has also been alleged to have been the settlement payout from Cassie's lawsuit as well, too. Now, the defense says that we have a recorded conversation. It did not go well for her and her lawyer. Then November 2023 comes and she sued Diddy. Again, the lawsuit has been settled. The only one that has been settled since he has been facing that mountain of lawsuits since November of 2023. Agnifilo reportedly went on to say when he contacts witnesses, it's not to stop a criminal investigation. He said, why is it depicted as a one-sided thing? There's 30 million reasons, $1 a piece. She said, I'm going to write a book. You can buy the rights. When talking about the most recent lawsuit, which Diddy faced from former Danity Kane member Don Richard, Agnifilo said this Don Richard lawsuit and Miss Harper, that's alluding to Kalina Harper, who used to be Diddy's Dirty Money group, again with Don Richard. They were from the same band. The lawsuit says that he had a couple of inappropriate things. Miss Harper, again, that being Kalina Harper, said that was not her experience. This is not intimidation, and there was nothing wrong with that. He said, I'm not even sure Don Richard is a witness in this case. My client hasn't done a darn thing. We have interviewed at least 6 of these males. We asked it, did it seem non-consensual? Anyone too drunk or too high? They all said no. He argued, is it sex trafficking if everyone wants to be there? Agnifilo says, no, it's not. We don't want the federal government in our bedroom. Now, according to reports from inside, Mr. Combs says that he had nothing to do with guns and how they're kept inside his house. He needed security in the sections of LA and Miami where he lives. Did they do it wrong? Not for us to say. Not his gun. R. Kelly, ? That involved children. They cannot consent. So alluding again to the R. Kelly case, which was also brought in this very courthouse right behind me. Now, the defense argued that they do have a substantial bail package. Some family members were there in the courtroom today. As again, we all saw Justin Combs, Christian Combs, and Quincy in there. The defense says that they do love him. A $50 million bond secured by a $48 million piece of property, again, that being Diddy's home. And then on August 20th, they paid off $18 million for the mortgage. While the lawyers went back and forth during arguments, the judge would ultimately make that final decision. The judge said in the case, I find the presumption has not been rebutted. The judge said there has been significant violence and weapons around, also coercion of witnesses, even gentle coercion can be effective. The judge said the type of behavior we're talking about happens also behind closed doors. The judge said, I thank your family members for coming, but Diddy will not be released. I'm hearing that there will be an appeal for the bail hearing set tomorrow around 3:30 Eastern time, again in this very courthouse that you see right behind me. Of course, we'll continue to keep you updated on any developments in the case as soon as they come out. But for right now, reporting outside of the federal courthouse in downtown Manhattan, I'm Elizabeth Milner reporting for Law and Crime.
Who fucking knows?
The Joe Rogan Experience.
The rumors are that Diddy was running some kind of Epstein type deal where he was filming everybody, right?
That's the rumors, yeah. I don't know that there's any proof or anything other than that.
The thing is, like, we're getting the rumors from the internet, and the internet thinks that the Taliban took out that bridge in Baltimore. So it's like, who fucking knows? Who knows what's real?
That's what Diddy's lawyers, I think, said. It was like, that these are just trumped up charges. Not trumped up, I don't think they said that, but like bullshit charges.
Dude, when Homeland Security invades your house,
you got problems
with dudes with fucking guns and body armor.
Someone said that they weren't there to take stuff; they were there to delete everything. Like the real people that were in there, you know.
Oh,
like
that's funny.
With Epstein.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
that's fun. Of course, there's layers upon layers. When you get into these fucking conspiracy theories, man, they never end. They never end. There's just layers upon layers upon layers.
It's fun to talk about.
It is fun to talk about. It's hard to know what's true, but
why
people genuinely love it when someone like Diddy gets caught, though. The glee that people have is weird.
Why?
Because he's too successful. Also, it's like there was always so much East Coast, West Coast shit that's still like in the zeitgeist. You know, like with Biggie and Tupac, and they were all hating at each other, and they both got killed, and there was a lot going on. And then there's people that thought that Puffy was involved and Suge Knight was involved.
I think Suge Knight's the one who said that thing I just thought of.
What thing?
About that they were there to delete stuff.
Well, if he really was filming everybody,
let me see.
I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right? You know who said? Luke from 2 Live Crew?
Yeah, he said he was to leave early.
Yeah. When Luke from 2 Live Crew is leaving early, like, you got a wild party. If what's happening is too fucked up for Luke from 2 Live Crew, like, check please. There's so many different stories. Who knows?
What are you going to do?
I'm not doing that.
We're not involved in them. I was never at Diddy's party. I don't even know the motherfucker.
We're out
I
here.
don't want to know nobody.
Telling jokes.
Nobody.
Telling jokes.
Like I told you.
Having fun.
That's it.
Yeah.
Smoking dope, cracking jokes, making people... everything else is background music. And living in L.A., you have all this shit that's going on around you. That's what you have your life, and then you have all this shit that goes in and out of your ears all fucking day, and you're like, I just want to do stand-up.
You also have those celebrity environments where celebrities all get together, and there's so many of them, you know, in these wild parties. And if you got a wild party, and P. Diddy puts on that wild party, and, you know, he sets everybody up. Like, if you were an intelligence agent, you know, like a Jeffrey Epstein type deal, that'd be the way to do it. Big old crazy party, get everybody loose.
And get the cameras
Get them
rolling.
the yayo. Get them the yayo.
And everything else.
Get them everything you need. Get fired up. Get those cameras rolling. And now you got everybody under wraps. What a twisted web some folks weave. You all right over there?
Yeah.
You got to concentrate.
Did what so many high-profile people.
Justin Paperny is a prison consultant. He often advises people on how to handle going to prison. So, Justin, first off, your thoughts on Sean Combs being scooped up on a Monday night at a hotel when he was expected to turn himself in on Tuesday.
Well, he's in real trouble. This case has gone on, or the conduct has gone on for a very long time, 2008, and continuing till today, according to the government. Clearly, they think he's at risk to the community, which is why they're going to ask that he remain in detention. And I know part of the reason they like to arrest defendants who very willingly would go and surrender and turn themselves in. They like headlines, they like attention, and they want people to know if you break the law, we're going to come and get you, regardless of the time, day, or how much privilege or wealth you might have. We're coming to get you. They like the show that accompanies arresting people, especially in high-profile cases.
Even if Sean Combs knew he was going to be walking into a courthouse on a Tuesday, it still has to be a little bit of a shock. He thought, I'm going to walk into that courthouse. I'm going to surrender. I'll make my initial appearance. I'll make bail. Maybe I'll get a GPS bracelet. But the U.S. attorney wants him to stay behind bars. And I'm assuming they will get what they're asking for. So this has to be a shock to somebody like Sean Combs, who is used to living in the lap of luxury.
It's a shock for anyone, whether you're rich or not, but certainly when you have that level of wealth and things have gone your way for so long, and you tend to have, when you're rich and famous, a lot of enablers around you who tell you what you want to hear, including potentially lawyers who are telling him what he may want to hear. They might have make it seem like it's a formality he's going to get bond. He may still get bond with very heavy restrictions and inability to leave New York, with an ankle bracelet, monitoring at all times in his mansion. Some people make fun of home confinement because you can be in a mansion. This is not like a white collar crime. When people get indicted in a white collar crime, the headline will say they're looking at 40, 50 years in prison. Then they get sentenced and it's 18 months or 2 years. They love the headlines. In this case, with racketeering and fraud and arson and everything that's been alleged, when they say 30 or 40 years, that's no joke. It could be 30 or 40 years in prison if convicted, and not in these cushy minimum security camps. He will be on a higher security prison labeled a sex offender, which presents a whole slew of problems. So his only goal right now is somehow, some way to remain free, because the risk of serving time in that detention center, being isolated because of his status, would be devastating. And I'll also say part of the reason the government is arguing that he should be confined immediately is the obstruction charge, which alleges that after he knew that he was a target, he continued to make choices that exacerbated his struggles. They say he's a menace, Your Honor. We need him in custody.
The racketeering conspiracy charge alone carries a life sentence or a maximum penalty of up to life in prison. So, I mean, this is about as serious as it gets. I think a lot of people, though, after this long of an investigation, I mean, it had been going on since March. The feds have more than a 90% conviction rate. So they always have their ducks in a row when they issue an indictment. I think a lot of people were wondering, wow, 3 charges. It's 3 charges. Maybe they were expecting more. So were you expecting more to come out of this, other than what we're seeing right here?
Well, first I'll say a federal investigation since March isn't that long. So they prioritized this. They got there pretty quickly. It doesn't surprise me that it's 3 charges. What will not surprise me is his continuing to fight. And there is very little willingness of people who are high profile to actually accept responsibility. He has a presumption of innocence. He has every right to go to trial, though with the evidence and what we're seeing, if convicted, he's looking at like the R. Kelly scenario, decades in prison. And I hope at some point, if the evidence is so overwhelming, he can say, if I've done something wrong and created victims, how can I make amends beyond just scratching checks? This is also devastating for my family. Is there some path to accept responsibility and plead guilty? Because if he's able to do that, he sets himself up for a scenario where he might not spend the rest of his life in prison. He can actually have some freedom and begin to get on the right side of the law and identify with people that he's hurt. The issue is Sam Bankman-Fried, Elizabeth Holmes, so many people, R. Kelly. Despite overwhelming evidence, they continue to go down this path of going to trial, claim that they are the victim, and if and when they lose, a sentence that could be 10 or 15 years. I'm not saying 10 or 15 years isn't a long time, but it's not 40 years or 30 years, which could be in his path. And they'll really get tight for him, I suspect, in time, once a lot of these enablers, you read all about him in the indictment, enabled the conduct, turned the other way, his partners, business partners, they didn't want to lose their job, the fame that accompanies working with him. When some of those people begin, as they say, to roll over and cooperate, because they don't have his resources. So at some point they need to say, I need to get on with my life and I don't want to serve 10 or 20 years in prison. What can I do to potentially get a shorter sentence, accept responsibility? And if that means cooperating against Sean Combs, so be it. And you can expect those things to happen. The government's very good at getting people to cooperate, and that can induce some people to plead guilty, though I suspect he's taken it all the way to trial.
Well, and I was going to ask you about that, about the so-called enablers mentioned in the indictment. I mean, he didn't, according to the U.S. attorney, do this by himself. There was an enterprise that takes more than one person. And he's having, according to the U.S. attorney, people shipped in for these freakoffs. I mean, the freakoffs feature very prominently in this indictment. So he didn't do all of this by himself. He wasn't hanging out, handing out drugs by himself to participants, giving IV fluids to freak-off participants. I mean, this was going on with the assistance and the help of a lot of people. We already know that Brendan Paul, the guy accused of being his drug mule, has entered a plea in Florida. So he may be cooperating. Do you expect that other people already are cooperating if they aren't, or will be soon, because this has got to send a chill down the spine of a lot of people who were in his orbit. You said that you expect people to be cooperating, but do you think there may already be people cooperating?
I think people are already cooperating and help them build their case so quickly. When the FBI shows up, I know because they showed up to my home, one of the first questions they'll ask is there anything you'd like to tell us? That's an opportunity to give the government everything you possibly have, with the hopes of getting what's called a 5K1 in the federal system, a cooperation letter to the judge expressing why this defendant is worthy of a shorter sentence. So certainly people are cooperating. And we can't forget, people are enamored with celebrity and stardom in this country. When you have power and influence, and you have people who sense an opportunity to make a living and live a lifestyle they never could have imagined, it's easy to rationalize their conduct. I work for him. It's his decisions. I don't want to lose the payday. These people are complicit. They're a part of it. And oftentimes these people in retrospect will say, I made bad decisions. So they're going to get a shorter sentence because they cooperated, and they did what so many high profile people fail to do: apologize. In these statements from lawyers and Sean Combs, there is very little identification with victims. Even his former girlfriend, he only eventually apologized after it came out on film that he had beat her. Even in that, it was self-serving. I think he said God or someone forgave him. So it tends to all be about him, and it doesn't help when you have the lawyers enabling the conduct. The lawyer said with all he's done, he should remain free. What has he done since 2008 to demonstrate that he lives as a law-abiding citizen according to the government? And lastly, I'll say, oftentimes people will plead guilty in federal court, get a shorter sentence, because the judge will say, this went on over a month or two, was a crime of passion. You embezzled money 3 times, it was wrong, you're going to be held accountable. They're alleging 16 years. So you can't allege this is out of character for him. Here's what the government's going to say. This is his character to victimize other people, and worse, he fails to accept responsibility. He makes it all about himself. And that's why he's looking at decades in prison.
Do you expect more to come out of this? The U.S. attorney said this is an ongoing investigation, urged people to come forward. Do you expect a superseding indictment? Is this just the beginning?
I can't predict if more superseding indictments are coming, but certainly I think people they're cooperating, and therefore they're lawyering up. They're sitting in their home somewhere thinking, do I go to them, or are they going to come to me? Are they going to come and raid my home at 6 a.m. with the guns and the helicopters and take me into detention? And maybe they don't have the resources to post bond, or the lawyers advocating on their behalf. So more is coming, and I can tell you from having just a dude that served a measly 18 months in a minimum security camp a long time ago, the hardest part is the waiting and wondering, are they coming? And if they come, what does that mean? And if they arrest me and I plead guilty, how long will I serve in prison? And I will say again, these sorts of crimes, look at where R. Kelly is serving time. It's not in a camp. They're in higher security prisons where you're locked down, oftentimes isolated, because the stigma that accompanies this sort of crime. So yes, people are freaked out and they're worried about what's coming next.
Well, we will watch. We will continue to watch. Justin Paperny, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
And that's it for this edition of Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Thank you so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.
Diddy's new digs are so bad, he is already complaining. Please let me out on bail. I promise no female visitors. My goodness. Speaking of female visitors, how did he get so many? Who was helping him do this? We need to talk about his manipulator in chief. Welcome to Diddygate here on Popcorn Planet. A lot of new details coming in. Yes, he is behind bars. He's in Entertainment Center at the MDC Brooklyn, and we got the report on what's happening there. Doesn't look good, guys. This one doesn't have a lot of good Yelp reviews. We're also going to talk about this manipulator in chief, this woman who many say, and she's been mentioned in some of these lawsuits, was one of the people really behind helping to allow this to keep going. And yes, Diddy will be appealing later this afternoon. We will be there with the updates to let you know if this new judge will let him out of jail. In the meanwhile, let's look at this place that he's in jail, this new home, this troubled Brooklyn place. Here is a picture. It's a high rise. It is not getting good reviews. I mean, not that it should, but there should be basic human rights. And this place has faced intense scrutiny amid a spat of vicious inmates, going after each other badly, complaints about dismal living conditions, including maggot-infested food, filthy cells, power outages. Apparently they go weeks without any sort of heat, which is, not good, especially as the cold rears its head. These apparent conditions were brought to the spotlight during the trial of Maxwell. I can't say the full thing, the notorious Madame of Jeffy, when her attorney ripped the facility for the reprehensible and utterly inappropriate facilities. She complained about using the bathroom, which was an open sewer drain, rats running around, rotten maggot-infested food, freezing temperatures for roughly a week when an electrical fire caused all the light and heatings to go out in the building. Apparently, violence-plagued federal lockup made headlines when it was hit with the claims that the staff had allegedly covered up a knifing at one point. It holds pretrial detainees as well as those serving short federal sentences. It holds about 1,700 inmates. Look, it's not a good place. As multiple places reports are coming in explaining more about it. Let's see who else has been here. We had R. Kelly. So he's in good homes there. R. Kelly. It's also Michael Cohen was there. Fetty Rap, Alison Mack from that trial, Ghislaine. And now he is in there as he's waiting to see what will happen next. It's interesting. We got his location. I had a picture here. I don't want to show this, but yeah, Sean John Combs. I have his registration number. He's located there. This is in the prison database. You can go find it. And it's interesting because he's in the SHU, the SHU, which apparently with John Witherspoon is saying is most likely for his own protection and also to keep him from cutting deals. Because you can get in there and cut other deals with prisoners in exchange for protection, extra food, commissary items, etc. Interesting insight from John there. I think it's spot on. They, regardless of people